Hi, I'm Teresa Chang.
Hi, I'm Marianne McCara.
Hi, I'm Felicia Grant Cummings.
Hi, I'm Kim Johnson with Moms Navigating Autism. Hi, I'm Kim Johnson.
Hi, I'm Teresa Chang.
Hi, I'm Marianne McCara. Welcome to Moms Navigating Autism.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about Dayhab Programs. Right now, at least in our area, I'm sure this is everywhere, they're hard to get our children into adults or the people that we love into these programs because there's a lack of staff. They're just reopening. They were closed due to the COVID, and I'm having a very hard time finding a program to get my son into.
That is true. There are a lot of people that are desperately looking for day habilitation programs for their children to put them into, but they're having a hard time finding help to work them, and so they can't open up more programs.
Yeah, they're looking for DSP workers. That's direct support personnel, I guess is what the abbreviation is for that, to work in these programs. There's wait lists at some of them. During the COVID, there were no tours, and eventually as they open up, some have virtual tours. I have to find a place for my son in 2 months, actually. Before COVID, I was starting to look at programs, and unfortunately things were shut down. Kids were home, they weren't in school, everything was virtual. But even as things are opening up, it's just a slow progress to get all these programs up and going again.
What are Dayhabilitation Programs? Dayhabilitation programs assist people to acquire, retain or improve their self-help, socialization and adaptive skills, including communication, travel and other areas in adult education. Activities and environments are designed to foster the development of skills and appropriate behavior, greater independence, community inclusion, relationship building, self-advocacy and informed choice.
Now, fortunately, in June, if you live in New York State, Governor Cuomo signed a bill that allowed, it's actually a temporary bill, that allowed students that turned 21 during the 2019 to 2020 and 2020 to 2021 school year to stay in the school district until they were 23. That bill was presented by Senator
Peter Harcum
and Assemblyman Thomas Abenanti. And it was signed, and school districts were instructed to keep the students until they're 23. But it's only, I repeat this, it's only for students that turn 21 in the years 2019 to 2020 and 2020 to 2021. And then you could stay until 2023.
But unfortunately, it's the discretion of the school district because the way the bill is passed, it says they may, not shall. So the way the school district gets around it is they say that they're not required to let the students stay longer or extend them. So there are several school districts in our area that have extended these students for this school year, 2022.
Yeah, most of them have.
And unfortunately, my school didn't extend most students for an extended period of time to finish the school year. So not every school district is allowing their students to stay.
Well, what I say is call the state and let them know. You know, that's what I tell people. I tell them, call the state, let them know. But also keep an eye as to whether all his goals have been met or her goals have been met. And if they haven't been met, then tell the school district, because their goals have to be met. It's per your IEP, and if the IEP is not followed, then there's a problem, and you could possibly file for due process, which you could do on your own. You don't really need a lawyer to file for due process, but you can, file for due process and tell them that they haven't followed the IEP and the goals have not been met.
Our son is 21 and attended a residential school. So now the schooling part of his life has ended, and they're currently seeking an adult placement for him, and I realize that's going to take some time. But in the meantime, I have been grateful that there is actually a Dayhab for him that he's been able to go to. Because otherwise I'm afraid that his days would, be rather empty and boring, frankly. And in fact, we just had a meeting recently, and I suggested that one of the activities he might do during Dayhab is learn how to sort silverware, so that when he finally does move to an adult placement, he'll have that skill to bring with him.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the thing. That's the one thing that I fear for my son, is that when his school ends, which is going to end in December, and not have a Dayhab placement for him, then he's going to be home. I don't want him to be home because, he looks forward to that place to go. He looks forward for the bus to come get him every day. He looks forward to seeing other people in a room that are with him, whether it's they're doing arts and craft or listening to music, his teacher. They do activities, all the holidays. They celebrate the Halloween.
There's an important social aspect.
I mean, that socialization of seeing other people. And then if he stays home, he's not going to have that. I don't want him to just stay home and not do anything. As much as he'd be happy just watching his video, he still enjoys,
going someplace and doing something.
During COVID, that was the thing. After a while, he's just like, oh, what do you mean you're going to work? Here's my shoes, I'm going to, so he wanted to go.
I mean, I remember our son sometimes when he'd be home and he'd be getting restless at being home, he would pick up his sneakers and he'd hand me his sneakers. Or he'd sit on the steps in the stairwell where he would usually sit while I put his sneakers on him. So he'd be trying to tell us, I want to go. I want to go someplace. I want to do something.
I'm tired. I want to go.
I just don't want to be stuck here at home.
Right. Yeah, and they do. And unfortunately, there's a lot of parents that they graduated their kids out last June, and their kids are sitting at home and they're not doing much because there's no Dayhab programs. They really, they really need to have something in place before they take their kids out.
Well, there's several different types of for Dayhab. For Dayhab, there's within walls, which is site-based, and then there's without walls. So a student, like say your son, who can do things, go out in the community, maybe have a job, go to college courses. If there's different levels for each person that goes to these programs, and this is a program that, if it's a fit for your child, that this is a placement that they're going to be probably to the end of their life. They're going to be there for their whole life there.
So you want to make
Depending
sure
on
that
their
it's
skills.
the right,
Yes, the right fit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parents that are out there and they're desperately looking.
Well, there's a real crisis even within group homes to find staff who are, willing and capable of doing these jobs, because it is not easy work. I mean, even when we had Rehab people coming to the house, it was very taxing, especially as our son grew older. It got a little harder to retain therapists and people who were willing to come to the house.
Yeah.
A lot of turnover.
Yeah, a lot of turnover. But group homes and Dayhabs, they're desperately in need of staff, and maybe the state could do something in order to sort of attract more people to those jobs that are,
I don't know.
One of the things that was mentioned, I was on a transition call yesterday, and something that I wasn't aware of is that it was mentioned about the state. They kind of have a control over how many people a Dayhab could have in their program. It's based on square footage and money and all these things. So my thing is, there's obviously a big need for these placements for you know, our family, the people in our family that need this program. It's like, when does the state step in and say we need to have more in Westchester? I know Rockland is. I know somebody in Rockland that's fighting to get more of this service there. There's nothing open or available
Right,
there.
there's nothing
either.
open, but they have a lot more than we have.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
I was under the understanding that there's nothing there.
No, a lot of them are full,
Okay.
but they have a lot of programs. Orange County does too. But it's
It's an all over thing. I mean, it's not
Right.
just here, obviously.
I mean, is it the difficulty with a neighborhood perhaps accepting these
I don't even know.
Dahabs within their community, or is it a funding issue that there's no money to
see, I think
fund the programs properly?
I mean, it
I'm
is
not sure,
definitely
but
no
I'm
staff.
thinking-
Also, it's a combination
Right.
of things.
right, but I'm thinking that it's a funding thing.
Mm.
But I think that the amount of staff to work them also is another thing. It seems that everybody all over needs help, people working, and nobody wants to work, and I don't understand that. But
And also, I mean, I've heard that, you know, people in my son's group home are working really long shifts, and sometimes they have to shift people from house to house depending on which houses are short on staff.
right,
And they're not getting relieved. Some of those people I heard.
And
that
people
they're
get burnt.
switched.
People get burnt out.
Yeah.
People get burnt out,
Right.
and if they get burnt out long enough and bad enough, they'll leave that job.
well, I know of another group home that during COVID, people came down with COVID. They had their board members out working,
Mm.
and on the floors watching the kids, and it got pretty bad. I don't understand what's going on. Someone could explain it to me. I have no idea, but
Perhaps the salaries for these positions need to be raised somewhat so that it becomes a more attractive proposition for people to work these jobs.
maybe or
I don't know, because like if you look around, there's shortages everywhere. Like bus
That's true.
drivers,
That's true.
bus
Oh,
monitors,
yes.
everything.
They've cut back bus routes in Westchester due to the fact that they don't have
They don't
enough
have
people to do
anybody.
the routes.
So people
Right.
aren't working or doing
I
those
don't
type
understand.
jobs.
I don't know if
It's
they're trying to
restaurants.
stay home because they don't want to catch anything, and so it didn't help the unemployment that everybody was out on, the federal unemployment, but that's all ended. And people should be out looking for jobs, and I don't understand why we still have this big shortage, but it's affecting everybody everywhere. And most of all, it's our kids.
The people that they serve
Right.
in these places,
Right.
in the
Right.
Dayhabs and stuff that need them, there's just nothing out there. I mean, there is, but they're slow coming back on board, getting staff.
And there are wait lists.
And there's wait lists on some of them, yes.
And how long are the wait lists, do you think?
One of the programs that spoke last night said there was a significant wait list on that program. A few of them that spoke said there are openings, but that's the thing, and I think my school district doesn't really quite understand that. They keep telling me, oh, there's availability, there's open, you need to go look at everything, but they don't realize that my son doesn't fit into everything. Because things that have openings might be a WOW program, a without walls. My son is not a candidate to go out in the community and do a job and do those kind of things. He's not that kind of candidate for that.
So it simply wouldn't be suitable.
Right, it wouldn't be
Right, it would
suitable.
not
So
be
yeah, there's an
suitable.
opening, but not for him. And then there was other programs that we did apply almost a year ago already, and he was denied that program. He was not a fit for that program. And yeah, there's openings, but it takes the right place for the student. It's not just that I'm not picking something. It has to be a fit. I mean, his safety
Right.
is the key thing,
Right.
you know?
So they're getting, now it's gotten to a point where they can pick the top because they have so many applicants. They could pick who they want.
And some of them, one of the problems now is they don't call back. I constantly, I think, at daily basis, email some of them on a daily basis. And I understand they don't have the staff and maybe they don't have the answers, but I think what all parents are asking for is just communication. Even if there's not a spot, if there's not the staff, just communicate that with the families, because you're sitting and waiting for that call because you know time is running out where you have to find a placement for your
Right.
child.
And just to be
So just
honest
a call
about
back.
it.
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
I
if you
get
don't
it.
feel if it's a good fit, call
That
them,
also.
tell them it's not the right fit, and so that they could go on and find another one.
Like I said, it's not all their faults. I mean, if you don't have staff, you don't have staff. But and I feel that some of the programs that had openings, that I think it's easier for them to take a more independent person than a person that has more needs. So when they're saying that, there's no wait list, and then you're wondering why you're still waiting and waiting, they don't have the staff to cover
A child that needs more help.
Mm-hmm. And I get it. But
It's
I don't know what
unfortunate because the more profound autistic students or the more profound students are the ones that are suffering because there's no placement for them. But there's got to be some place for them to go. You can't just leave them at home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they talk about self-direction also. I'm not totally 100% clear on self-direction, so I can't explain it all. But I know that it's not an easy process right now because I was told that could take anywhere from 6 months to a year to get an approval for self-direction. And then some people are experiencing up to an 18-month delay on getting their approval for self-direction. So that wouldn't be right around the corner as an option for me, no matter what I do, because it's going to take time to get that. But it's kind of like where you choose who the providers are, you choose where the person goes and gets Dayhab, ComHab, the respite, whether they're gonna like if a person can join a gym or go to the movies or take trips with other people.
Right.
But you have to build that foundation somehow too. Like, and I also work, so it's not that easy of a step for me to begin with.
Yeah.
So,
a few years ago, I was at a library, and I was sitting there waiting for my son while he went to get whatever he got. So a lady came in, and she had 5 kids. 5, I shouldn't say kids, they were adults. And she had them all sit down on the couches while she sat there and she texted the entire time. And I thought to myself, this is wrong. These students are here. She should be teaching them how to look for books, how to take out books, even if it was just picture books. She should be teaching them to do something. She shouldn't just be sitting there texting.
Are those people from a day program
From
or
a day program.
a residential?
And it was,
Glorified
unfortunate.
babysitters, or
It's,
it was a job. So
it just brought that to mind. But even though those people don't want to work these days because they have openings and nobody wants to work.
The IDEA. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Section 300.43 of the Individuals with Disabilities Act, IDEA, mandates that transition planning is part of the education process for students with disabilities so students can leave high school with skills needed for the future. To obtain an online version of the IDEA, go to https://sites.ed.gov/IDEA/statute regulations. Parents of students with disabilities should ensure that a transition plan with measurable transition goals for their child is in place on their IEP by the time their child is 16 years of age, or preferably sooner.
There are kids on the spectrum that don't go to Dayhab programs. They some of them go to college, some of them go to community college, depends on where on the spectrum you are. Some of them go to Ivy League schools, like mine. And then there's other ones who they do trade school. I know in our area, some of the kids that took, we have what is called the BOCES Technical Tech
like
Center.
adult programming,
Right,
adult classes at night
took,
and
right.
stuff.
Well, what happens is some of them took culinary, so they learned to cook and stuff. And then there's this farm, I want to say, in a restaurant called Tilly Foster. And the year after high school, they end up going there and they cook there, and they have like a half a day program. My son's friend was doing that for a little while. Actually, he's got a couple of friends that were doing that, and they learned to cook, and they while they were in high school at the tech center. And then they did Tilly Foster for a year after that, and they would cook for the restaurant, and they would finish. And then after that, the parents look for other things to do. Not everybody goes into Dayhab programs. There's different areas. Some of them go to trade school to learn some sort of trade. Some of them like to do woodworking. Some of them can get very technical. And yeah, computers. That's another one. They like to code. It's too technical for me, but some of them, that's what they like to do. I know that Access VR, which is it's like OPWDD here in New York State. Access VR actually helps them to put resumes together, do career planning, help them find internships, something to do, even if they have to go to work. And if you're in college, they even have funding for books. They will pay for your school.
Access VR does?
Access VR.
I just heard about it a couple months ago.
Some of these kids do better on online college, and they go online. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic last year, my son did not step a foot into his classroom because everything was online because of COVID. But he did pretty well, So it depends on where on the spectrum your child is. But I would definitely suggest that everybody sign up for Access VR for whatever they could help you with, because they can help you get a job, even if, depending on where you are on the spectrum, even if it's bagging at a grocery store or...
And the school districts provide this information.
Right.
In our school district, there's people in charge of that, and there's a center where they can get all that information and the Access VR information.
Right, Access VR.
And help them with all that.
Exactly.
And how long would it take to get it approved for it if you were interested in it? What's
Access
the process
VR
like?
actually is, I think, max 6 months, I think.
Really? And what information do they require in order to evaluate your application?
I have an application at home. I got it in a packet a few months ago.
Right. I'm trying to think. I think every single one of them, the Vineland is one of them. But I don't remember what else. The school district did most of they put together the whole packet. I just filled in, the whole...
Because they have a resource center now, so that there's somebody that does those packets, right?
Back when we applied for it, they didn't have that.
Okay.
So the school district, basically, they gave you this bunch of paperwork. You filled it out. You handed it back to the school district, and they put in every other, thing that they needed through the schools. I'm thinking they got something from the school psychologist. So, and they put it all together in a packet and sent it away. So, but, definitely Access VR, even if they're not college bound or trade school bound, they will teach them to put together a resume, find a job, and even once they find a job, they will figure out how to get to and from that job. And they might even have funding for that. And some kids, I don't know, I haven't figured this out. Some kids actually get them to pay for rent. And I heard a mother say
have Access VR. This is for their...
I don't know. I think they have it for a while.
Okay.
If you lose your job, you can go back to Access VR and they'll help you find another one.
Access VR. In New York State, Access VR assists individuals with disabilities to achieve and maintain employment and to support independent living through training, education, rehabilitation and career development. For more information on Access VR, go to www.access.nysed.gov/VR or call 1-800-222-5627.
Thank you, Altis, for providing us with this platform.
And we want to remind everybody that we are mothers. We are not professionals. We're sharing our experiences with us so that you can learn from our experiences.
Don't forget to watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Follow, like, and subscribe.